So YouTube, we're gonna install some goodies on the Ford Raptor today, 3rd gen, and something very important that we should have installed a long time ago. This is the AIG AOS separator kit. I'm gonna go ahead and unbox it and show you guys what we got. Alright guys, everything's laid out. As you can tell, some really good quality stuff here. Nice and pretty. So we got the little hardware kit, bracket. This is looks like part of the oil filler cap, little adapter. Everything's pretty labeled too, which is really good. We got some nice stickers, and this is a little template to make the cutout on the engine cover. All right, let's get to business. All right guys, the first thing we're gonna do is remove this cover, which is 10 millimeter. And then after that, we're gonna remove the intake as well, just to give us more room. All right, so now she's naked. Got the cover off. Now the next thing we're gonna do is take off the intake, which is gonna be an 8 mil or a flathead. So just to give us a little bit more room. All right guys, it's removed. We got a lot more room now, so it should be a lot easier to work now. I'm gonna point something out. So these screws, they tend to come a little loose over time with the vibration. So it's good to put Loctite. A good friend of mine that's had a Raptor longer than I gave me a heads up on that, and it's kind of hard to film, but see, there you go. Just a heads up. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is remove the PCV line from the passenger side. So it would be this guy. So you're gonna remove it from here in both ends. So go ahead and pull on this clip. All right, the next step is I gotta remove this on the driver's side, the PCV line. So pop this to get this out of the way though. There you go. Now we got some more axes. I'm gonna remove this guy. So I broke the connector in this end. I was trying to use these little special tools, but they didn't work out, so I use these little pliers to press them both. Back when I did the turbo inlet pipes, same deal, had to break the connector. CVF gave me a new connector, so that wasn't a big deal. And then I just cut it with the blade utility knife from here, and then I slipped this thicker CVF pipe, but I'm not too worried about it because you got new hoses anyway, so you're good to go. All right guys, so the next step we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the oil filler neck. So that comes off. The whole thing. Yeah, this thing's on there tight, so get a good grip, pull it up. All right, she's out. Now we're gonna replace it with this guy. So you can see there is an O-ring. You should already have a hose connected to it. Alright, so we're gonna put this on. This is a supplied one from AOS. AIG off-road, I mean. So that's on. And then your filler cap. Put that back on. That's it. The next step is we're gonna remove that PCV fitting. It needs to be counterclockwise. There you go. It's a little tight, man, but goddamn. She's coming out. All right, she's out. Now we're gonna install the supplied one, which is right over here. All right. Here's a brand new fitting. It does have an O-ring. Just double checking. And so, install this guy here. God damn, dude. There you go. There you go. It's like keyed in, so you gotta make sure you're on it good so you don't cross-thread anything. Yeah, that's it. All right, guys, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna install this bracket, which I kind of pre-installed already. So, quantity of 4, supplied hardware, 5mm. It's the size that you're gonna be using. I'm gonna go ahead and use a socket, 5mm socket with the ratchet. And let me point out the placement real quick. So 1, 2, 3. So six holes showing. And this is very important, or else you're gonna have fitment issues when we install it on the truck. Just so you guys are aware, I'm using the video from the company as a reference. It's not a specific Raptor, but it's the same motor. So anyways, these are the 2 hoses we're gonna install onto the cam first. So it'll be this guy. This should be 26 inches long, and it should be coolant lines. So this guy and this guy. This one's gonna go on the outer side, and then this guy's gonna be installed on this guy here. And they're a little bit different, see? So you could tell them apart. So we got a 10mm on the right, 15mm on the left. When you remove the 15mm, make sure you leave the ground still attached. And show you real quick, you already got this part already assembled. These 2 lines are ready to install this can. All right, so now that it's mounted, it's not going anywhere. I noticed we have a little issue here, but there's another little hole down there. That would mean it would go up, so that's definitely not gonna work out. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna cut out a little notch to make it look clean. I'll do that at the end. So the next thing we're gonna hook up, this hose that goes right, it's gonna hook up here. Nice and easy. So it should click on and look just like that. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mess with this coolant line right here. So we're gonna unclip it. We're gonna use some pliers to clip it. And then pull on this guy and just, all right, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hook up this hose right here. First, we gotta disconnect it from the coolant reservoir. So right here, some needle nose pliers. So we're first gonna use our little special tool to clamp it down. So if there's any like coolant, so it doesn't shoot out. Yep, we made a mess. IAG, they didn't, in their video, it doesn't show about cooling spitting out from the engine side down there. So as soon as I pulled that out, she started spewing like crazy, got all over. Don't be an idiot. Make sure your cap is off. Nothing got in there, thank God. But I did make a mess over here on the tube. It's fucking everywhere, you know. Or just be aware, have this line like super close, ready to connect it really quick. I wasn't ready for that, as you can see. And yeah, so it's a mess. All right, little update. One of the lines that was had the little tube sticking out, that slips into the OEM coolant line. So you just routed it that way underneath. Now I'm just gonna zip tie that together, make it look a little bit more uniform. All right, this is very important. So if you follow the video that IAG Off-Road has to offer for the Street Fight EcoBoost, it will tell you to put, it shows that they installed this line, right? But then if you look at the PDF file, you'll see on the notes that it'll call out if your truck does not have a sensor, you have to use one of these. So one with the 45 on it. So just FYI. Earlier I was, you know, trying to put this on and realized that that wasn't gonna work out. All right, so this is what we got so far. We got this installed here. It's there. Just showing you the routing. The next thing we're gonna install, I'm gonna install this line. It has a little union connector here. So that's gonna get connected. Just the square end. Okay, so this side is gonna get connected upstream to that, and then we're gonna route it behind that sensor back there. It's gonna go underneath. Let me point at it. There. Behind that, then it's gonna come around and secure there. You got those two connected. Put a zip tie right there. Secure it. Another one down here. So my routing was a little bit, this is the best route I could do. So I'm under the connector, just so like the original instructions specify. And then I went around there. Okay, underneath that line. And then underneath this line too, this connector. Straight down. Here's where that cover goes. Boom, zip tie there. Boom. I think it looks pretty clean so far. Just be careful on that connector. Either you take it off, or when you're feeding the hose, it could get caught on the crimp right there on the metal piece. It's a very tight fit back there underneath that sensor. Just so you know. All right, so this is the next two we're gonna connect. This goes to the catch can, right? And then you see this end of the tube. I'm gonna reuse this that we took off earlier from the OEM fitting. I'm gonna attach it here. So O-ring into this. All right, this is what we have connected so far. So that line I was showing you earlier gets connected there. First I would route it. After you install a little brown connector, or fitting, whatever you want to call it. I'll try to show you. It's back there. It's where there's a zip tie on it right there. Just make sure when you twist it clockwise, it sits all the way flush. I'll put a zip tie there. routed behind that little sensor. Right, zip tie there. You zoom out, zip tie there, and then that gets connected to here. And you see the thickness in the hoses? It's actually a thinner hose. So that's how you'll be able to distinguish which hose comes next. There's on one thin hose from what we have left. As you can see, there's one thicker one left too. And that should be the last one that gets installed there. All right, this is the last line we have left. So this end, see how there's like a, you press on the connector one side and then on the other side too. This one's different, this one's like squared off. So the squared off one is gonna go up here to the catch can, and then this end is gonna go down there with the turbo inlet pipe. So, all right, this is the final touch. So last two is connected down here by the turbo inlet pipe. So that's what that is down there. Zoom in out so you can see. So if you look at the videos, it tells you to run that pipe to the right, but then I have, it doesn't work out for me because then I end up hitting on these hard lines. So, and then I don't want to have like a bend on the, or kinks on the tube. This was, I noticed this was the best route. Unfortunately, I can't do any zip ties this way, but like I said, it's the best route without deforming the hoses or in any sort of way. So this is it right here, it's the final product. So for the record, the sensor wasn't needed. My truck wasn't equipped with it, so that got eliminated. This was the OEM. That got eliminated too. And so we didn't end up using that since our truck, this 2021 Gen 3 Raptor, is not equipped with that sensor. So, yep. I wish I would have retained this hose though, because the silicone is better. Well, at least I like it better. All right, the fun part now to put everything back on the truck. She's nice and pretty now. So we don't need to do any cutouts on the cover. Like if you have to, like what they tell you in the instructions off of like regular F-150. Look at that, perfect. No cutout there at all. So this template's not necessary. But never mind the little, not the best quality work I did there, but it'll do.